Everybody, this is Dan from Christie's RV. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Jayco Eagle 28.5 RSTS. We're going to be going over some of the stuff that you need to know once you've purchased this unit. We'll start over with the propane system. So the propane system is in this first compartment. So you get your two 30-pound bottles. In the middle is a crossover regulator. So the way the system is designed to work is with both bottles open or in the on position, and whichever one that this arm is pointing towards is the one that's going to draw propane from. Once that tank becomes empty, the little gauge here is going to go red, but automatically start drawing propane from the other tank. When you notice that it's gone red, you need to turn the lever over to the other tank. It'll go clear because there'll be propane in that tank, and you can remove the empty one and have it filled. In the front corner here you have your extend and retract for the front leveling gear for hitching up and leveling. So in the second compartment basically have all your hookups and stuff. So in here, you have your water heater bypass, so you just follow the gauge, either normal or bypassed. You have a plug-in for portable solar panel, a water pump switch. The black connection here for the hose is for your tank flusher. So this unit has a sprayer inside the toilet tank to help clean it out. If you're going to use that, you need to do it with the sewer hose hooked up and the valve open, so you can't overfill the tank. Below that you have your two selector valves for the water system. So depending on what you want the system to do, you have to make that selection. So you can either sanitize the freshwater tank, fill the freshwater tank for dry camping, so if you're going to pull water from the fresh tank and use it with the water pump, winterize, or city water, which would be just hooking up the hose and just drawing straight from the hose. So if you want to do either to fill the tank or to use the city water, you're going to use the outlet that's on the right hand side that says water connection. If you're going to sanitize the tank or winterize the system, you have to use the outlet that's on the left side. And then you'll just put the valves in the corresponding directions as the pictures show. Beside that, you have your satellite and cable hookups. And then below you have your tank valve handles. So they're labeled black and two grays. Black's the toilet, the grays are the sink and shower water. Underneath you have your hookup for your sewer hose. On the front of the compartment here you have your battery disconnect switch, so you can disconnect the batteries without unhooking them. You can just either on or off. Next you have your water heater. To open it, you just turn the tab to line up, open it up. So everything's controlled from inside the unit in here. The only reason you may need to open it is to remove the drain plug to drain the water out of the hot water heater. Before you remove that drain plug, you need to bleed the pressure off the system. So you'll need to open up a set of taps inside and make sure that there's no more pressure. Then you can safely remove the drain plug. One other thing to note in here is your pressure relief valve. It is common for them to drip a little bit when it's on a heat up cycle. So if you notice that it's dripping a little, it's completely normal. So in the back corner of the unit, you have where your power cord hooks up. So the power cord itself just slides into place and then twists, and then you can just tighten up the locking collar. Okay, so on the door side of the trailer, in the back corner, you have your extend and retract switch for the landing gear at the back, the stabilizer jacks. So you're just going to hold it till it comes down to the ground and hold it when it comes all the way back up. So for the outside kitchen, get the fridge inside. The controls are on the upper right hand side. This fridge is only 110 volts, so it's only when the unit's plugged in will it work. Inside here, you have your couple light switches, but then you also have your GFI receptacle. So to reset the GFI receptacle, it just has the button there. If it's tripped, the light will be red. That GFI receptacle controls a couple of the other plugs that are in a wet location. So it doesn't necessarily just have to trip from that one, but that is where you have to go back to reset it. So the cooktop that's in here, you just pull it out. It has a drip tray that has to be installed just underneath. But the drip tray needs to be removed before you put it back into the storage position. Then it has a quick connect propane hose. So the propane hose itself, you just pull back on the collar and push it up onto place. The other end goes to the hookup here. So same thing, you pull the collar, push it into place. Now this one does have a valve, so once it's plugged in, you can turn the valve down and you'll be good. So the other thing here, you have the white little valve there is the drain for your fresh tank. So if you want to drain the fresh tank, you're just going to open the valve there. Now this is your venting for your fridge. So everything for the fridge is controlled from inside the unit. So it's removable, but it's really only for service. The only thing to note here is that this little hose that's here is actually the drain hose. So when your fridge goes to defrost cycle or it's turned off, it is normal for water to drip out there. Another thing to note is that you can't put anything up against the vent to prevent airflow, otherwise the fridge won't work properly. So I just advise you don't lean anything up against it. Now up top is your vent for above the stovetop. If you want to use the vent above the stovetop, you have to open it. So to open it, there's just the two tabs on the bottom. You just need to kind of press up and out on them and it pops out. For traveling, you just push them closed, it clicks into place. So this trailer has the steps that go inside the trailer. So to open the steps, you just got to open the door. You need to make sure you open the door fully. Once the door is open, you just pull out on the steps. So the stairs themselves are adjustable to accommodate the ground height and stuff like that. To remove it, you're just going to pull this pin out and then just pick the appropriate hole you need to make it line up properly. So the awning for the unit is controlled from inside this main control center. So we're just going to come inside, press and hold, extend. The awning's going to open. So one thing to note with the electric awnings is they're not intended to be used in heavy rain or really windy conditions. If you have either one of those, you're going to need to roll it up. As well as I'd recommend if you're not going to be at your unit, that you should roll it up as well. So you can adjust the pitch on this awning through both arms. They have these little levers here. So once you move the lever, you can adjust how straight this bottom arm is. So you can pitch it one way or both down, whichever one you see fit. The only thing to note is they do need to go back into the straightest position before you roll it back up. And then to roll it back up, you're just going to press and hold the retract button. So in this control center as well, you have your monitor panel. So you can check your gray tank, the second gray tank, the black water tank, your fresh tank, or your battery level. By doing that, you're just going to press whichever one you want to test. They all share the same gauge here. And you have your exterior light switch, which is the light under the awning. You have your water pump switch, your electric water heater and your gas water heater. So for electric water heater, you're just going to press and turn it on. That's all you got to do. The gas water heater, if you want it to run on gas, you're just going to flick it on. If for some reason it does not light, the little red light above it is going to illuminate to tell you that the water heater didn't light. Most of the time it's just air in the lines or whatever, and you just try it a couple times before you think that there really is a problem. And below that you have your slide out switches. So for the slide outs itself, you're just going to press and hold extend. So one thing to note with the slide outs is that you need to make sure that there's nothing has fallen in behind or beside the slide outs before you extend them all the way out, because it will damage something if you don't. The other thing to note with slide outs is that they only seal all the way in or all the way out, so you can't leave them part way, otherwise there's a chance that they'll leak. Another thing to note with them is there's two different types of slide outs on this unit. So the one that we're putting out right now is a traditional style. Once the room gets all the way out, it's just going to make that ratcheting noise. That's how you know it's all the way out. As well as when it comes in, it's going to make that noise. The other type of slide out, which is the other two slides in the unit, is what they call an in-wall slide out. So in the in-wall slide out, they have the tracks that are on the side of the wall. So when you extend or retract these slide outs, there's actually two motors in the system, and the motors just stay synchronized to themselves. So it's important that once you get all the way out or all the way in, you continue to hold the button for a few seconds. Just to make sure that the two motors stay in sync. Sometimes they get off a little bit, and by coming to the wall and holding the button for a few extra seconds, it just gives them a chance to make sure that they're both in line with each other. So other than that, in here you just have your switches as well as your dimmer switch. Then you have your thermostat. So the thermostat itself, to cycle through, it's the really wide button. So the first one turns it on, then you can check or switch between fan, which is just the air conditioning fan, high or low. Then you can go to cool, which is obviously the air conditioner, and then you would just set the temperature you want it to be set to, and then it displays the temperature inside the trailer. So when you're on cool, you can pick high or low, which is the fan speed, or auto. So what high or low is going to do is it's going to run the fan all the time and just cycle the air compressor inside. So the fan's never going to shut off. If you select it on auto, it is going to turn the compressor and the fan off at the same time. So when it comes down to temperature, it shuts everything off until it needs everything to come back on. The next thing you have is heat. So heat's obviously the furnace. Again, then you're just going to set the temperature you want it to be inside. Now the furnace is going to run for 20 to 30 seconds before it ignites. And then as well, when it either comes to the desired temperature or you shut it off, it's going to run for another 20 to 30 seconds without the flame on as a safety precaution. And then turn it off, you're just going to go back to the off. So below that, you have your load center. So to open it, you just push in the center. So on the door, everything is labeled for the fuses and breakers. One thing to note with RV breakers is they don't have an indicator to show that they're tripped. If they're tripped, you actually need to turn them off and then back on again. So if you're having an electrical issue, I recommend just finding the appropriate breaker and just turn it off and then back on. So over here at the microwave, you have your vent fan switch or your light switch for the stovetop. Stovetop itself, just fold the glass up. If you want to light the stovetop, you're just going to pick the appropriate one, turn it to the little flame symbol, and then turn the sparker. Now the center burner is your high output burner, which is considerably warmer. So if you were going to boil water or something like that, you would definitely want to do it on the center burner. Now to light the oven, You're just going to turn the knob to the flame symbol. Once you get there, you can actually push in on the knob. So you're going to push in and you're going to turn the same sparker until it lights. It'll light underneath the tray here. Once it's lit, you want to hold the button in for another 5 to 10 seconds. When you release, the flame should stay on, and then you're just going to set to your desired temperature. And then beside that, you just have your lights. So one is the illumination on the outside, and the other one is the illumination and the interior oven light. So for the fridge, the controls, you got to open the freezer door. You have your on and off button. Then you have your temperature setting. So you got from 1 to 5. This is the temperature setting for both the fridge and freezer. Then you have your selection here. You can either be on auto or gas. Gas is just going to be only propane. If you're on auto, what it's going to do is if there's electricity present, it's going to run electricity. And then if not, it's going to switch to gas. So if you had, if you're running on electricity, the power went out, it's going to switch over to propane. Once the power is reintroduced, it's going to switch back to electricity. If on propane, the fridge does not light, there's a little check light here. It will illuminate to tell you that it did not light. So you have your fireplace underneath the TV. The fireplace can either be controlled from the buttons here or from the remote that's in the drawer. So you can select the temperature, high or low or no heat. You can change the flame color, and you can set a timer so it only runs for so long. So on the front side of the kitchen island here, you have a propane and CO detector. So this is wired to the batteries on the trailer. One thing that can happen if the batteries on the trailer become low, it starts having a high-pitched squeal trying to inform you that it's not going to work properly. If the alarm does go off, it tells you if it's a carbon monoxide or a propane leak. And you can test it. There is a little button on it if you wanted to test to make sure it is functional. So in the bathroom, you have another GFI. Again, this controls some of the other plugs inside the unit. So if you needed to reset, that's where you're going to reset from. The toilet in this unit is foot flush. So to flush the toilet, you step on the pedal all the way. To just add water to the system, you only step on the pedal part of the way. One thing with this unit in particular is that you need to make sure before you bring this front slide out in, the front door to the bathroom here needs to be strapped in the open position to accommodate the slide out coming in. If you forget to do that, it can cause some sort of damage. So in the front here, the one window is a emergency escape window. If for some reason you needed to go out this window, to exit, you just grab the little red tab, pulls the screen out, then you release this bar, you push the window open. The window is just hinged at the top, it doesn't fall out or anything. Now you can use this window, it latches in this one position, so you allow some airflow into the trailer. If it's a windy day, I wouldn't recommend leaving this window open. Sometimes what happens is the wind will catch the window and open it up. If that happens, you just need to go from the outside and put the bar back into place, and then everything will be alright. So in the front corner, you have your charge center. So you get like a cigarette style plug and a couple USBs. The lights that are are on top of the bed. The first time you touch the light, it's just a blue light, like a very soft blue light. The second time, so you hold it, and it is a bright white light. So touch the button, it's blue. Hold the button, and it'll be a bright light. So on the bathroom wall, you have location for adding a TV. And then as well as you have your outlets and stuff up on the roof if you did. So I think that's just about all for this unit. I hope you enjoy and have a great day.